could the government be working with dinosaurs? And a person discovers a strange floating rock, along with hundreds of tourists trapped on Mount Everest. In today's video, we're going to be reacting to the latest strange and bizarre clips that I could find on TikTok. Let's get into it.
These people are over 500 years old, and you will not believe what the government wants to do to them now. You probably all know around 500 years ago, the 17th century, there was the whole thing on witches. It was very severe in the UK. If people were thought to be a witch, they'd have to do this sink or swim test, and then they'd be like burnt at the stake or brutally unalived. And this did actually happen a lot. Like, if you look it up, the stats are pretty insane. Of course, this went on for a very long time and was pretty much worldwide, but now we know that witches aren't real. So the council and the gov in the big old 2025 are now calling for pardons on all of the 17th century witches. Better late than never, I guess, but you're a little bit late. Surely there's descendants of them alive, but I'd be very surprised if any of you know the actual names of your great-great ancestor who was alive flipping 1700s. If people are freaking out about this, saying, why the hell are they spending time and money doing this when there's other things they should be doing? But the other group of people are saying, no, this does kind of make sense, which in a way it does, because it's clearing their names, because they still technically have records and they're not even alive anymore. But it's very interesting, so let me know your thoughts and I'll keep you updated.
I looked into this a little bit further because I just wanted to read the article that he had up. Looking into it, there was a guy named Jeffrey, and he basically told the government that women killed in 1652 and others executed under the Witchcraft Act of 1562 remain victims of a huge injustice rooted in misogyny. He also stated that women were prosecuted due to their social status, gender, and perceived nonconformity, and described their deaths as acts of murder. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. For something that happened so long ago, it's not going to hurt to pardon it, but it does seem like randomly came out of nowhere. Let me know what you guys think about this, and if you think that this might be a distraction towards something, or if you think that they genuinely have empathy for what happened to the victims of the past.
If you hear this noise in Appalachian mountains, do not respond back.
Check this out, y'all. This is super weird. Sounds like a weird creature out there. Then you hear the whistle. You are not supposed to respond back. Stay weird, y'all.
There's been some people in the comments of my older videos saying that they're from the Appalachia and that they've heard whistling as well. And there's also been some people that say they're from there and they've never experienced anything like that. But if there was things like that roaming around my yard, of course I would have my thing on me, but I would also try to film whatever is making that noise and not just trying to record the sounds that it's making in the distance sitting on my porch. I think that that would be really fun. Kind of scary, but would make awesome content. There's some people that say that that's just not a good idea. Big thing that I would be the most worried about is how many bears there could be and also mountain lions. As far as I know, I don't think that there's that many mountain lions, but the bear population from my understanding is pretty thick.
You know what else is under the authority of the crown?
What?
Disney World in Orlando, Florida.
What does that mean? How?
Ron DeSantis was trying to say they're self-governing because Disney has always been like a self-governing entity within Florida, so they don't pay taxes, the taxes that major businesses and do stuff in Florida do. Like they started getting into politics. Disney was like, he's like, if you're going to get into politics, let's get into politics. But Ron DeSantis lost that battle because it came out that Disney's like, hey, why don't you just read this piece of paper that we have? It says we are under the Royal Family Clause, which basically means Disney World within Florida is technically owned by the royal family of England.
How?
I don't know how that works either.
I don't know how they did it. They did some sort of exchange. I've tried to do a ton of research.
Did they fund it?
They would have had to have like given the land to the crown, and now it's protected.
Yeah, they basically said the U.S. cannot tax what is the royal families.
Why? Why do they own U.S. land? Get out of here! Come on!
I have heard this story before, so I decided to look into it this time. I'm not certain where they're getting this story from. I cannot validate it. I mean, on Google, take that information for what you will. It says Disney World actually does pay taxes in Florida and that they're one of the major taxpayers of the state, and that it's a large misconception that they do not pay taxes. Actually, reading right here, their property taxes were so high in 2024 that they sued the state of Florida trying to get a property tax assessment. But if there's something I'm missing here, or there's a story that I'm not quite seeing, please let me know in the comments. Hey, if you haven't done so already and you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I upload a video like this every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. And for everyone that's watching and or subscribed, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
Former Senator and South Carolina Judge Diane Goodstein, their house from all sources has just exploded down the road from us in Edisto Island. I'll tell you all the weird unrelated details in a minute, but the former senator broke his legs jumping off the balcony, and even their children were jumping out of windows. Like, there's a whole bunch of broken legs and stuff, and they're in the hospital right now for treatment. And again, multiple sources saying some kind of explosion. That's literally the word right now. There's some kind of explosion, and now people are investigating. Completely unrelated, did you know that Goodstein was just going against the DOJ September 2nd? Sort of. She just issued a restraining order stopping the DOJ from obtaining 3.3 million people's voter information. And then that restraining order, I believe, was overturned by a Supreme Court, again, allowing the DOJ all that voter information, which includes phone numbers, addresses, date of birth, socials, etc. And again, all of that stuff is completely unrelated. Now, the first-hand eyewitnesses are saying that there's some kind of explosion. And as of right now, they're looking into arson and other kinds of stuff. Pretty wild.
I had not a single clue of who those people were, but nonetheless, I don't know what people's mindset are of those people, mainly because of their political positions, I guess. No one needs to jump out of their house and break their legs, especially their kids. And that was some serious flame going on. I would never want a house that's so big that I have to jump from it and hurt myself, especially when it comes to things like that. I need better access to escape it if I need to. But hopefully all goes well for them and they recover from this. Now, I have not dug any deeper into this. I did check to see if this was true as far as their house catching on fire, and yeah, it's definitely true. So best of luck to these people.
You remember the controversial changes to the Cracker Barrel logo that caused such an outrage online that the company was forced to move back to the old design after their stock value tanked? Well, as it turns out, that initial outrage was almost certainly driven by bots, according to researchers. This article opens up with a little bit of weasel wording of, did you feel something was off about the Cracker Barrel debacle to you that many people cared? I personally did, so their weasel words worked on me. But Peak Metrics, which is this company right here, they're a company that specializes in social media analytics, understanding narratives, conversations, identifying bots, and AI bot-driven activities. They're partnered with a lot of large corporations and governments. Tons of people contract them for various research studies. Well, they grabbed a sample of 52,000 posts made on X within the first 24 hours of Cracker Barrel's announcement that it would be modernizing its logo. In that time frame, Peak Metrics discovered that 44.5% of all mentions of Cracker Barrel were flagged as likely or higher bot activity. Those numbers climb even higher the moment a boycott is mentioned. About 49% of the posts talking about boycotts also probably came from bots, but we didn't just study X, we studied Truth Social, Gitter, Gab, 4chan, Rumble, etc., etc. And as it seems, there was a huge, broad bot campaign on the internet to make the Cracker Barrel controversy go mainstream, I guess. There's not really a point to this video other than to remind you that not every social media movement is real these days. The dead internet theory is very rapidly becoming a reality, and the replies you're seeing on the internet have a 50-50 chance of just being a chatbot.
I personally believe I know why that exists, and now knowing that there could have possibly been an AI aspect of it that pushed it to become more mainstream gives my theory as to why this all happened in the first place. When this whole Cracker Barrel logo thing occurred, Cracker Barrel's ticker on the stock market started going down, and that's because people were complaining about it. I told my coworker that something was going to happen to where that stock is going to reach a certain point and then it's going to go right back up. And it looks like what we have here is good old market manipulation, where if they were using AI bots to help boost comments and add opinions about how this logo design is a bad idea, let's not do it, to help add fuel to the fire to make the real people say, yeah, you know what? I don't like that. And then it makes the stock investors pull out of the stock because they're looking at it as two things. One, oh man, the business might fail. Let's go ahead and take our money out while we can. We don't want to hold the bag. Or two, the people on the inside of the trade know what's happening. They know that AI is pushing this deflation of value towards the market, hyping people up, complaining about this logo design. The people behind the scenes are going to be like, well, we're going to not actually change the logo. We're going to keep it the same way that it is and just say, hey, you won. And let the real people, not the bots, believe that they won this imaginary argument of this logo design change. So what happens? They're like, oh yeah, Cracker Barrel listened to us. We love Cracker Barrel. Everyone starts investing into Cracker Barrel. The stock goes up. Now, someone that can read the market and can see this stuff happening can really make a lot of money off of these kind of moves. The chances of someone being able to see that happening are very rare. Very few people were going to collect. The people that win off of it are the people behind the trading that are manipulating the system, sending the AI out, making investors pull their money out, because the people that are behind the scenes become bears really quick and they'll start profiting off of the people that are pulling out of the stock market. I could ramble on and on and on about this one. When it comes to things like this, it almost makes sense to me for some reason. It's almost like I can see behind the scenes and I know what they're doing. And honestly, I'm not a bad trader when it comes to the stock market. Day trading is more my thing, but I have not traded in years, mainly because one year I traded fairly successfully and the taxes bit my butt, and I said, well, I'm not going to do that again. I definitely have a feeling we're going to see more and more stock market manipulation working like this. So keep an eye out for weird things that happen with branding and other things that are on the stock market, because if something's happening with that, normally it's because something's happening in the stock market for manipulation. Sorry for the rant.
The following footage is actually a live stream from a young lady with the handle name of Ray Nation. She was just streaming, doing her normal thing, when suddenly a stranger walks past her. But the thing is, this unidentified person doesn't look human. And I have slowed down the footage so you can take a closer look of him. But the question remains, what was he? Take a look, comment below, tell me what you think.
This is good, Pat. That just scared the shit.
It looks like they're in a mall, so I'm assuming that that's just a goth dude going to Hot Topic. It's pretty rare now, but I remember back in the early to mid 2000s, if you were to go to the mall, you were seeing people dressed like that.
So I wanted to share with you guys why I decided to make tensor ring bracelets and what sparked my interest. Tensor ring bracelets have a profound effect on hand meridians. Your hands are where energy flows, by influencing the body's bioelectric field, energy flow, and cellular function. Tensor rings are based on sacred geometry and frequency physics, creating a toroidal energy field that interacts with the body's natural energy pathways, including the meridian system. Since hand meridians are energy conduits, a tensor ring bracelet acts as a stabilizer, enhancing energy flow between the organs. So here are some of the benefits of wearing a tensor bracelet on your wrist. It enhances meridian circulation. The hands have dense nerve endings and blood vessels, meaning improved circulation through tensor energy can benefit the entire body. I've been asked multiple times, what wrist do I wear it on, the left or the right? There's a different effect for each wrist. So the left side, the yin, the receiving side, governs internal energy and emotions and your subconscious mind. Wearing a tensor ring on the left wrist enhances energy absorption, aiding in inner balance, detoxification, and emotional well-being. While wearing it on the right side, this is the yang, the giving side, governs external energy, action and physical strength. By wearing a tensor ring on the right wrist, it will boost energy projection, improving circulation, metabolism, and physical performance.
I have always been very curious about tensor rings. I have never talked to anyone that actually has said that they've worked. Now, I have tried orgonite pyramids, and some of them do have tensor designs in them, so I guess you could say I kind of tried them, and maybe it's a placebo, but I do have a more positive effect when I'm around my orgonite pyramids. So maybe I need to start decking myself out in tensor jewelry. Let me know, do you guys believe in this kind of stuff? Do you think it's actually beneficial? Because if it is, I could see myself wearing a bracelet or two.
You're down now?
Yeah, but
Just got home from going back to the location of the floating rock with my mom, and I wanted to share with you my little vlog. Enjoy.
Okay. So let's see how this goes. They've been looking for over an hour.
I really do. Yes.
Oh my god, I found it!
Yep, that's it. Right?
Yes!
Because it has.
Yeah, because it has this is right on the edge.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
right
I feel
there.
like I gotta
Oh my
sneeze.
god.
And another dot. Oh my gosh. Okay. Woo!
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Okay, so this is the rock. I found it against all odds.
Crazy.
Guys, insanity. Okay, but here's the magnet. This is the only magnet we have. It does not stick on this magnet. And then as far as the compass goes, I have other footage of that. This is the rock.
I'm confused.
It does not have a hole in it. I will show you some close-ups. It has specks on it of different colors, as most of the other rocks do in this area. But anyway, I'll show you some close-ups.
Now the only better thing would be if it would float for us.
So this rock supposedly
And
floats?
yes, I brought it home this time. I didn't spend over an hour looking for it to just leave it behind. So, and it wasn't floating anymore, so hopefully it's not haunted. I hope you enjoyed our floating rock escapade. If you still don't believe me, I'm not gonna make you believe me. But I know what I saw, but it wasn't AI. It was not edited. We saw a floating rock. It was not assisted by anything as far as human intervention goes. Thank you so much for following along. I did not expect this to blow up the way it did. Still don't really have an explanation, but such is life.
I'm not certain if the first part of that video was just a demonstration of what they seen when they first seen the floating rock, but that was definitely a rock floating by fishing string. I went into this person's channel to see if I could find the floating rock video. Could not find it. I mean, this person has a really nice setup. They have a little garden and a bunch of cute animals and chickens. But as far as floating rock, this is a mystery. Sorry for wasting your time on that one. I got just as well.
Have you ever heard of Pine Gap?
What is Pine Gap?
Better known as the Australian Area 51.
Ooh. Everyone's got their own, I guess, right?
It is near Alice Springs. People have reported for a long time that around Pine Gap, there's a lot of UFO activity.
Interesting.
It's a joint effort between the United States and Australia. But basically, who runs Pine Gap is the CIA.
The American CIA.
American CIA. A lot of people report seeing strange lights in the sky moving silently and rapidly. And then there's this one account in the 1970s where these Aboriginal trackers, they saw something crash and they went to observe it. They're in the bush, these Aboriginal trackers, and they found this smooth metallic sphere partially embedded in sand emitting a low hum or vibration. The object was reportedly cool to the touch despite being in the desert heat, about the size of a basketball, perfectly symmetrical, seamless, and impossible to open. One of the men picked it up but said it felt strangely heavy for its size and gave the sensation like it was pulling at his insides.
Ew.
The story also includes the orb started levitating slightly when placed on the ground. The men later approached the military personnel who confiscated it and warned them never to speak of it. One of the men became ill and disoriented afterward.
That's crazy. I think that's wild to me though. Like just how that works. Like especially if the CIA is involved. Like that's American agents and the stuff that must happen there. We think Area 51's a problem. Guess what? No Americans are doing anything about that. They're not sneaking in there.
I mean, it's really hard to say if this story is true, but it would not surprise me if there is Area 51 type places across the world. I mean, why would there not be?
They're coming! The sky's opening up! 3-Eye Atlas is the mothership! Hide now, all of you! Hide while you still can! You need to get up and leave the store. If you don't have...
That really does look real, but that is an AI generated video. I've seen a great number of them now on TikTok. This whole Sora 2 thing has gone crazy. I have also been using AI for my videos when I do my little skits, but what I use is called VO3. I do not currently have access to Sora 2, but once I get my hands on it, I might try some things out. But let me know in the comments, have you been enjoying my little AI edited moments that I've been adding into the videos?
I guess 3F Atlas is a real mothership.
So I've been having this eerie feeling that something is in my home, right? Like something will be walking past me, but when I turn, there's nothing there. But I see someone walking past, like I can see their legs. But when I look up, it's almost like they turn translucent. It's really strange. My husband's been saying the same thing. And I haven't said anything because I just thought, I don't know, I've been gaslighting myself a little, you know, even though I shouldn't, because there have been plenty of times when I've seen shadow people or I've seen things, but just really inconsistently. This has been very consistent. This is very consistent, right? So I went to my community and I asked them about it. They've all been seeing it too. And all of us for the better part of a month. I think these are something making contact with us because they don't look like shadow people. They don't look like man in a top hat. They don't look like anything nasty. They don't feel like anything evil, nothing like that. It's just something's there. But when you go to look at it, it's like they automatically shield themselves or disguise themselves. It's really strange. And I'm just wondering who else this is happening to. I wonder who else this is happening to, right? Something very strange. I think something has made contact. I think something is making contact. I think something is watching and helping, whether we understand or not. And obviously not all of us, but I think those of us who are aligned with the light, something is watching, something's helping.
Hey, for whatever she believes, maybe that is the case. I actually have my own personal experience with seeing shadow people or entities, not in my current home, and I have a few theories around it, so hear me out. I'm feeling extra rambly today. I have lived in 3 homes where I've seen shadow people, or entities that you could see out of the corner of your eye, but as soon as you go to look at them, they disappear. And it's not just something that I see, it's also other people that live in this home that also experience this. Growing up, the first place, I lived in a home where someone died of cancer in my bedroom, but I never seen anything in my bedroom. There was just 2 spots in the house that always had this shadow person that you would see out of the corner of your eye. Multiple people would see him at different times, not always necessarily at the same time. And the shadow person would end up at one side of the hallway, or it would be on the other side of the hallway, standing at the edge of the door frame. Kind of almost looked like they were leaning up on the door frame a little bit. You would see that out of the corner of your eye. If it was on the far left of the hallway, it's because you were sitting in the living room and you were watching TV, and out of the corner of your eye, you would see that shadow person leaning up against the doorway. On the far right side of the hallway was where the dining room was. You would be sitting at the table, and if you would look out of the left side of your eye, you would see that shadow figure leaning up on the doorway. Multiple people that would stay in this house or would be in this house would say that they'd see someone leaning up against the side of that door. What was that? If it was just a random occurrence, maybe every once in a while, okay, maybe there's just a trick of an illusion there that's casting a certain shadow that you're just catching out of your peripheral. But it did not matter what time of the day, how much light was there. If you were in one of those rooms and your eyes were focused on one of those corners, you were going to see that shadow figure. The second house was one that I lived in personally, and I do not know the history of the house completely, so I do not know if anyone passed away or what have you. There was one spot in that house where you would see a supposed shadow person. You would walk from the living room, go into the kitchen, and on the right side, before you went into the pantry room, there would be a shadow silhouette of a person standing there. Once you locked eyes with him, he'd disappear. What was that? And the third place was my last house, and it was so bad there of the shadow people and the things that you would see that I actually have friends that were so creeped out by that place that they just would not want to go. I don't blame them. You possibly be seeing ghosts and demons. But this last place that I stayed at was so bad with these shadow people. And I know this sounds like I'm making it up. I swear I'm not. I would be sitting on my couch in the living room and my dog would be laying on his bed. But I'd swear that I see a dog pass from the dining room to the kitchen. Very small house. And I would think that that was my dog passing from this room to that room. Just to find out, I'd call out to him, say, "Hey, Bruce, what are you doing?" To hear him get up from his bed and approach me from his bed, because that's just where he's been. That happened so many times in that house that it just became a normal thing where I didn't even care anymore. If I seen whatever that was walking, it either was Bruce or it wasn't. But I would also have friends over that would be sitting on the other couch in front of me, thinking that there was a dog playing with them this whole time, basically rubbing up against them as if it was Bruce, to have Bruce laying in bed, and they were like, he was just over here, but he was not. It was the ghost dog. And the other thing that happened in this house is you would be having a conversation with somebody, and out of the corner of your eye, one of my bedroom doors would open up, and you would see someone exit out of that door and go into another room. And this would only happen if you were in conversation with somebody, and you don't even notice that this happened when it happens until you take a second, you're like, wait a second, someone just walked out of that room and into another room. That happened to one of my friends, and he was like, I just seen someone walk out of your room and go to another room. I'm like, man, there's nobody else here. That just happens. And that's happened a couple of times to where one of my friends was so freaked out that he just really didn't want to come back. And I know you're watching my videos and I know you know who I'm talking about. Now, I'm getting to a point to all this as to my theory behind of what these shadow people or things were is something that all of these places I know for certain had in common. I can't guarantee if all three places had people that died in them homes. I know one did. The second one, I'm fairly certain someone probably did. It was built in the early 1900s. And the third one, I do not think anyone passed away in that house. What I do know, each house had a very bad mold problem, a really bad mold problem. My theory is it was just mold intoxication, and it was making us believe that we were seeing things in certain places because those were the places that were most contaminated with mold. And looking back on it, in the old house, the very first house where we experienced these shadow people, the living room and the dining room were not the healthiest of places. I hate to admit it, but we were not living the best that we could live. You know, do what you can with what you can. And same goes for the second house. I rented that place from a guy that just wanted $500 a month, and you could not beat that. But with that, you get a house that's built from the early 1900s, and basically it's falling apart. There's going to be mold damage, and trust me, there was. I had to clean my mattress regularly because on the bottom side of it, the humidity would rise and it would mold the underside of the mattress. Like, there was a lot of mold going on in them homes. And the same for my third. Literally, the roof was caving in because it was just rotting away, completely covered in mold. I really am starting to think that all these shadow people were due to being in environments that was highly contaminated in mold. Now, fortunately, I live in a brand new home. No one's ever lived in it. No one's ever stepped foot in it other than me and my wife. It's clean and has no problems, and I've never seen a shadow person in it as of yet. And I've lived here for a while now. So long story short, I think maybe these shadow people or entities that you're seeing out of the corner of your eye, you might want to check your surroundings and see if maybe you have high levels of mold and you're just not aware of it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Sorry for the rant on that one.
What if I was to tell you the government was working with dinosaurs? Let me tell you what I mean. There's been dragons that have been reported all over the place. And where are they going? So let me tell you another story about how there's a whistleblower who talked about how in the 7th level of a base in the Southwest, the Dulce base, in the 7th level, the lowest level, they have pterodactyl-like species interacting and giving advice and knowledge and wisdom to the human race about spirituality, about where we come from, about the ether, about what happens after we die, about where our souls go, about how to control the souls, about what to do if we are under a spiritual attack, and how to handle it. And the government knows all this information. That's how they've been able to protect us from different attacks from different species, psychic attacks and otherwise. Do you believe this story? There's been many whistleblowers that have talked about the 7th level of the Dulce base. A lot of people talk about the Nightmare Hall area where they're doing a lot of biological experiments and hybrid experiments, but a lot of people don't talk about that 7th level. Do a little bit of research, check it out, but tell me what you think. Put your comment in the comments section. Are we working with pterodactyl dinosaur aliens that have been here for millennia and millions of years? Billions of years, maybe? I don't know.
I mean, I highly doubt it, but I do like the theory that dragons were a thing of the past and still actually do exist. And most dragons formed themselves to look human. So all of these extraordinarily wealthy people that just keep gaining and hoarding immense amounts of wealth, they could be dragons in disguise, because dragons love to hoard gold. At least the common lore of dragons. They are also kind of demonic. So if demons are real and dragons are demons, or dragons could be a part of that, then why not have some dragons disguised as people? Could also explain why there's a lot of wealthy people that look like people from the past, because they were the people from the past and they're still the same person, but they're actually a dragon. I mean, that's a pretty interesting theory. I know that straight away from the government working with dinosaurs, but if dragons are actually the dinosaurs that they're working with, I could believe that more in the biblical aspect of it.
Hundreds of tourists were trapped by heavy snow on Mount Everest this weekend, and some are still waiting to be rescued. One hiker who made it to safety told Reuters it was so wet and cold in the mountains and hypothermia was a real risk. The weather this year is not normal. The guide said he had never encountered such weather in October, and it happened all too suddenly. Another said there was 3 feet of snow on the mountains that crushed tents. According to Chinese outlet Jimu News, hundreds of hikers were trapped at more than 16,000 feet. That is a little more than halfway up Everest. Hundreds of rescuers descended on the mountain on the Chinese side, trying to clear a path for the trapped tourists to come down. Everest sits in between China and Nepal. The Chinese side sits in Tibet. About 350 people who were trapped in the snow were able to make it to a meeting point on Sunday. But there are another 200 hikers that rescuers are in contact with, and there have not been any updates on the rescue mission as of Monday morning. On another mountain range in China, one hiker died of hypothermia and altitude sickness last week, and 137 others were evacuated. And earlier this year, weather was to blame for even more deaths on Everest. Recent heavy rains caused landslides that left more than 40 people dead, and an earthquake in January killed 126.
It's so crazy to me that Mount Everest is that busy. I mean, hopefully all these people make it out safely. No one else gets injured or further harmed. But man, I bet there's a ton of frozen duty up there. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. I would also like to thank you guys for checking out the D&D content that I've made. I really appreciate that. I know it's a little odd from the content that we do here, but eventually it will get pushed out to people that are interested in D&D content, which to me would be awesome. Kind of a dream come true, honestly. I really enjoy Dungeons and Dragons, so any support you show towards that content, I greatly appreciate. So today there should be a video that comes out at 12 p.m. about the Astral Dreadnought there, so hopefully you give that a watch as well. And with that, if today's your birthday, happy birthday, and if not, have a good day anyways.